And welcome everyone to episode 98 of Brews Less Traveled, the podcast exploring the best uncharted craft beer scenes across the United States. I'm your host, Brian, and I'm back. Shout out to Glenn and MC for stepping in the past couple weeks and helping me out. Full disclosure, caught a stomach flu a couple weeks ago. Was in the ER while the episode was being recorded. Actually sitting in a hallway on an ER bed rather than in a room. It was a weird situation. But anyway, shout out to MC for covering that week. And then the next week I did have my grandfather's funeral that I had to go up to New York and attend, and saw some close family members. And thanks to Glenn for filling in so that I could go and take care of those important things. And I'm back. And also huge shout out to my good friend and our co-host for this month, Todd Summers. Todd, thanks for hanging in there on those 2 episodes. I was like, hey, you want to come host a show with me? And then I won't be there.
I'm starting to feel like it was me, I'm happy you're here, Brian. Great to have you. Now we really get to get deep into the deep Chicago cuts. You've had 2 weeks of good behavior from me. Now it's going to go off the rails. So you got your work cut out for you.
Great. Hold down the fort when I'm not here, and then just let it loose. Let all the opinions out there. I'm happy to be here. Happy to be drinking this Freedom Lemonade that I did not get to enjoy a couple weeks ago on the show as my warm-up beer for today's show.
Surprised they didn't offer it to you when you were in the hospital.
Man, they didn't offer me shit. No, they helped me out, but it was a weird situation where, like I said, I was not in a room. I was just on a bed in a hallway, and but yeah, all good back here. And we're on our 3rd episode featuring the great Midwestern metropolis of Chicago. We have another wonderful featured brewery today. It is Maplewood Brewing and Distilling Company. They were founded in 2014 as Illinois' first combination brewery and distillery. They're located in Logan Square in Chicago. And we're going to be drinking 2 ready for summer beers here. Like, shout out to Laura for packing tonight with 2 real porch sippers here. We have their Top Pocket Blonde Ale as well as their Pulaski Pils German Style Pilsner. 2 really great crushable beers that I'm excited to open and talk about. And of course, I'm excited to open these and talk about them with tonight's guest. We are super excited to be joined by tonight's guest. So please join us in welcoming the founding brewer and CEO of Maplewood Brewing Company, Adam Cieslak. Of course, I asked about it and I
got it. Nailed it. Happy to be here. Hey, I'm doing well. How are you guys?
Great.
Tremendous.
And yeah, just ready to drink some beers. So as always, we'll get started with our quick sip questions here. These are some quick questions. We are looking for quick answers, and they'll help us get to know you quickly. Favorite non-Maplewood beer?
Oh, damn. Pilsner or Quell.
Oh, good pull.
Is on DuPont. One of those 2.
Yeah.
I can't pick a Chicago one. There's too many good ones. And I don't want to, yeah.
This quick sip question is somehow held out for these 3 weeks, but barley wine or stout?
Barley wine for me. Unless we're doing like a classic DA stout, non-adjunct barrel. But barley wine, if I'm picking one or the other, it's barley wine.
Barley wine is life. Cubs or Sox?
White Sox.
All right. And how about old style or hams?
Old style. Definitely.
And our final quick sip question. Have you ever seen Bigfoot, a UFO, or anything paranormal?
Have I seen the Bigfoot or a Bigfoot?
A Bigfoot. There's many of them. It's a species.
Yes. Yeah. No, I guess the answer to that is No, I wish. I was trying to think of something, but I have not, alas. Someday, though, I hope to.
One day. We all have hope.
That's right.
There's more than one Bigfoot. I thought it was like Bigfoot. It's like the
No, I think it's like, isn't it like Yeti? Aren't there several Yeti? Isn't it a whole species?
Yeah, it's not
it's like bears.
I thought Bigfoot was
multiple.
A proper noun. Like
Well, Bigfoot is the most famous, clearly.
Of the
I mean, if we're talking, or Sasquatch. Thanks, Matt. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, the great Sasquatch race.
Now all Sasquatch does is sell like aluminum-free men's soap on the internet. All right. All right. I already opened our first beer, but we're going to open our first beer, and it's the first? Top pocket. The top pocket first.
Cool.
Adam, what do you want to tell us about it?
I'm actually really excited about this one because we had not done. We tend to do. We have a lot of styles that we brew. We kind of go across the board, but we hadn't done, a blonde ale really ever in earnest and at scale. And we wanted something to, I guess, have something for summertime, because going into summer drinks great any time of the year, really. Something a little lighter and something. We always get a lot of feedback from new I guess customers and fans. They're just like, oh, can I have something before I get into the hops, before I get into any bitterness, before I get into anything, that something flavorful but maybe is a little bit more of a gateway beer. So that was the motivation behind that. And we wanted to do it with I don't know, something at least a little interesting for us as brewers and as a company. So we kept it light. It's lower ABV. It's only 4.8%. It has a touch of honey malt in there. I think it's only about 3-ish%, but that's enough to give it just a little bit more of a golden color. It's got some red wheat in there just to add a little touch of body, because as you go, those lower ABV beers, they tend to get a little, you don't want it to be watery, so that helps with that. And then the rest is just our 2-row that we used, and some really nice German hops in there. It's not overdone, it's not dry hopped or anything like that. It's just a late hopping all through the hot side, so it's mostly hot side hops and then some in the whirlpool, but it's Saphir, German Saphir hops, which are fantastic. So those, am I rambling on, or should I just keep going? No, all right. Yeah. Those are really nice in that they're more of a, I guess, modern noble hop. They have some noble hop characteristics to them, but they also have, and I don't know the lineage offhand, but they certainly have some citrus and almost like a tangerine. Some people get more like red berries out of it, but they have a fruitiness and a touch of citrus with that noble character, which is great. They're very flavorful for what they are. They're a really low alpha hop, and we thought it'd pair nicely with I guess, all in all, a lighter malt base for under 5% beer, to have a little bit, not a strong hop character, but a pleasant hop note throughout. Just add some depth to it. So it's not a blonde ale that tastes like just malt and nothing else, essentially.
No, it is really nice. I would imagine that water chemistry is definitely playing a role here too, because it's very, very soft, very pillowy, very approachable on the mouthfeel.
I'm glad you said that, because in all the beers we make, we try to tailor. I guess it depends on what we're doing. If we're trying to do something traditional, we'll try to get as close to the water source where a beer is going for. Like if we're trying to do like a perfect Czech Pilsner or something, we'll try to get that water as soft as possible.
Mm-hmm.
if we're trying to do something, I guess, like a hazy IPA, we'll mess with the chemistry to get the mouthfeel up. If we're trying, we just have a new double IPA West Coast style that's released called Sidewalk Surfer. And that's like the opposite of what we would do for the hazy IPA, because we want to accent, the hops a little bit more, the brightness of the hops and the dry, clean finish of that one versus having, the softer mouthfeel. But for this one, it's actually water that's more akin to a hazy IPA. Again, because it is a lower ABV beer, we didn't want it to drink watery, so tried to combat that, or not combat it, just address it going into it.
Definitely, it's noticeable. Shout out to whoever in the chat just posted what looks like a vacation outing looking for a Bigfoot.
I feel like we all should go, like now. It's it.
It's Georgia's biggest family attraction, the website says.
I don't know how to respond to that. Like, that could be a really good thing or a really horrible thing for Georgia. That's the biggest thing, but hey,
it's only $8.
Oh, come on. We could get the podcast.
That's pretty fantastic. You know what? Everyone in this chat room, I will pay for it. It's on me if you get yourself there.
Amazing. Shout out to RJ for posting that. So the name Maplewood, it's been said that it was chosen because of the significance of the village of Maplewood, which was a pivotal area during especially during the fallout after the Great Chicago Fire, and helped rebuild the city after that. Was that name chosen because you hope to contribute to a rebuilding of sorts of Chicago's alcohol scene?
That's a fantastic yes. I would love to say yes to that. That sounds so good. I would say yes.
Hey, I'll be your marketing guy.
No, we were trying to come up with a name that was we wanted it to be meaningful to Chicago. We wanted it to be something, I guess, related to where we were, and we started digging into the history of. So we are on Maplewood Avenue as well, and we're like, why is it called Maplewood? What does this have to do with this? And what? So we started going through it and found out there's actually a train station that is also another brewery now, like around the corner from us, that used to be the Maplewood train station. So we're like, why is it? What's all the Maplewood, I guess, history around here? What was this have to do with Logan Square now? And it's exactly right what you said. So it was one of the areas at that time was kind of on the outskirts of Chicago proper. It wasn't part of Chicago. And after the Chicago fire, which burnt up, was the majority of Chicago, or a significant portion of it, that was one of the areas that survived it, didn't get burnt down. And immigrant population, my family and my partner's family who started a brewery are immigrants. And those were like the people that Chicago kind of like helped. We need to rebuild the city. And they were very instrumental in a lot of the rebuilding efforts. So after that started going on, Chicago just essentially annexed it. And they're like, we're taking over Maplewood and a few of the other villages, towns around it, and they formed Logan Square. So, Chicago took it by force after they helped them out.
Thanks for the help.
Yeah. So that's where it comes from.
Perfect. Logan Square is such a great neighborhood now. It has been for so long, and I feel like it's gotten this rap as sort of like the hipster part of the city, which sure is probably true. But there's always...
That's what they say about all the cool parts of the city.
That's hipster, what I was going to say.
It's like, well, and then everyone moves there eventually, and then the next area becomes hipster, and then everyone moves there. It's the same thing over and over. When I moved to the city, I was actually in Wicker Park, and now Wicker Park is essentially, it's very similar to Wrigleyville and how it got developed and everything. And same thing with Logan Square. So,
And what I was gonna say is Logan Square has always had so many like neighborhood spots that have just been like perfect for the community, and there's so much to do there that, sure, there are a lot of fixie bikes and like tattoo shops, but it's got so much more. It's great that you're there.
Yeah, I mean, city we need them somewhere,
Exactly.
Why not Logan Square?
Preach. So we mentioned earlier and we sort of buried the lead on the Brewery Distillery combo, which isn't super common on the show, and you're the first in Illinois as a combo brewery distillery.
Yeah, we were one of the first in Illinois for sure, and then when we opened, there was only a handful in the country at that time. It was like under 5.
And yeah, that's crazy to me. I would have guessed there were more, but it's because it's unique. So what are some of the challenges that maybe keep other breweries from doing both, and what are things you've had to figure out along the way?
Well, there's the initial, and this is kind of makes it dumb why we did it initially, because there's the additional capital investment that you need to buy a still. So, that's a huge part of it, but we were ambitious, and with our shoestring budget, we made it work. So there's that aspect, but just licensing, regulatory stuff is tricky. The federal government it depends on what state. The federal government is okay with it, obviously, and state law, it depends where you are. So I don't know offhand, but I would be so shocked if there's still a lot of states that don't allow it. So that was, I guess, the biggest hurdle was figuring out, would we legally be able to do it? And if so, how? And, what we would need to do on our end. So we were, licensed properly and doing everything by the books. So that was tricky because there's not a whole lot of references, and even talking to folks on the licensing, in the licensing departments, federally and with the state, there's just not a whole lot of experience with it. And it was hard to get like, this is exactly what you need to do, XYZ answers. And I think that's changed a lot in the last, when we opened 2014, so almost 10 years. And you've seen, even Illinois, there's a hell of a lot more brewery and distillery combos now, or breweries opening distilleries. And it makes a lot of sense from one side of it, if you're doing it like we do it. So we use our brew house for all the raw wort production, whether it's going to be turned into a whiskey, a base for a gin or something like that, or a beer. So we figured, we're going to have this brew house. We're probably not going to be making a whole ton of beer day one, to have it running all the time. We love whiskey. We love spirits. We may or may have not experimented with some basement distillation test runs. And it was like, we like doing this as much as brewing beer. Let's go for it. And that'll kind of differentiate us right out of the gate. So that's what we did.
I'm glad you brought up the crossover between equipment there, because these days I think beer and spirits go hand in hand.
Totally.
Every brewery, almost every brewery, is utilizing second use spirit barrels in the aging process and some type of style of beer. So beyond that very like well-known public shared space between spirits and beer, how has the distilling program at Maplewood maybe informed the beer production and vice versa?
Well, we try to do, I guess, I don't want to say crossover, but influences from either where we can, or time together where we can. So a lot of our spirits use beer grains essentially. So trying to explain this. So if you're going to make a whiskey, you can make it, out of kind of anything really. But we wanted to tie it to our beer program. And we found that a lot of these malts that we're using in beer will make really flavorful, really damn good whiskey. And the TTV is finally about to, supposedly this is what we've been being told for a minute, is going to classify American malt whiskey or American single malt. I want to say it is as an actual thing, just like bourbon is, or anything else, which is cool. And it's surprising because now we're starting to see very large distilleries starting to put out malt whiskey that has, chocolate malt whiskey. I think I want to say Woodford, but that might not be right. I just saw a giant, like a mass produced one, talking about the chocolate malts in it and these other malts. And there's a reason for that. It turns out the whiskey you make from it is really good. So
it is Woodford,
goal,
you're right.
Yeah, is it? Yeah. And you're seeing more of that. It's not the first I've seen of it. So we try to use beer ingredients. I won't say beer ingredients, but they typically are beer grains where we can. We have a gin, our brewer's gin is what we call it, that uses hops from one of our larger production IPAs in the gin basket, and that adds some nice citrus notes in the gin. So that's our more citrus forward gin and stuff like that. So we'll and then of course, as these whiskeys are finally starting to come of age where we can dump barrels, we'll certainly backfill those with barley wine stout, whatever. We've done some sour stuff in those barrels, and then the cycle continues, and you get I guess the really cool thing is at certain select times, because it just doesn't happen. The stars need to align, but we have certain versions of our stout that we've distilled into our Fat Pug whiskey, which if anyone has had it or you haven't and you like whiskey, seek it out. It's been won a ton of awards. But that's a malt whiskey made from our stout base. That's the recipe's tweaked a little bit to be more suitable for whiskey production. So it's scaled up in alcohol. Our oatmeal milk stout Fat Pug has lactose in it. It's a milk stout. The whiskey, we take that out since it doesn't really add anything to it when you make it into a whiskey. But the grains all overlap, and then you could essentially try a oatmeal milk stout and then try a whiskey that's made from that same set of ingredients. And then on the one magical day when it happens, you'll be able to try a barrel-aged version of our imperial milk stout from those. So you get this,
it was aged in the
circular
barrels
thing that's going on, that this same general set of ingredients went to make all these different spirits and beers and different stuff. So we try to do that as much as we can. Obviously a lot of this stuff takes time with the whiskey, but it's fun that our whiskey program now has some inventory that's properly aged and is starting to be released a bit more regularly.
That is super unique. There are not a lot of breweries that are barrel aging beers with the beer that was related to the whiskey. It's going to give me a headache.
It's wild. Yeah. What
I'm adding my own quick sip question before we move into the Pulaski Pils.
Let's do it.
Because I'm taking a liberty, Brian. I said I was going to. You get to pick one beer, one spirits barrel to combine. So one beer to age, one barrel to age it in. What's the combo? What's your favorite?
Good question.
Thanks, Brian.
Can you repeat the question? Sorry, I'm honestly, I got slightly sidetracked because I was Matt P I saw his message when choosing stout-like grains. How does that change the whiskey flavor profile? So, and I was thinking about that. So I don't know if I'm supposed to be answering these.
Why don't you answer that question first?
Great question, Matt P. So you get a lot of, I guess, how familiar is everyone with eating like malted grain? At a brewery, have you ever tried it? You get malt flavors that are similar to similar, a lot of people know what, like the malted milk, malt balls are, right? So the inside of that is obviously made from malt. So a lot of those notes and those malt flavors and chocolate notes that are in the chocolate and the candy, but we try to get a lot of those notes from the stout grains. If you've ever had like a full body stout, you get like coffee notes, some dark bitter chocolate notes, some milk chocolate notes, all across the board. And those flavors actually carry through quite well to the finished whiskey. I will say that the body on the whiskeys are a little bit more, I want to say thick, but they have more of a mouthfeel to me on the malt whiskeys as compared to like a bourbon. So that's an aspect of a lot of the malt whiskeys I have and how we distill ours. I'm sure you can adjust that one way or the other. But you get a lot of those roasty, strong, dark grain notes in the final spirit, which goes very well with wood character. If you had a barrel-aged stout, those flavors play well together. It's just kind of the opposite experience where those flavors are in the spirit itself, from day one. So like a fat pug or stout whiskey, if you open it and you're kind of smelling it blindly, you can pick up a lot of these really nice cocoa powder notes that it doesn't taste like a flavored whiskey, because I don't want to give the wrong impression, but those notes are certainly in the whiskey along with all the other good stuff you get out of whiskey. So that's short of it. Okay, back to the question. Sorry.
That was a great answer. One beer to age in one barrel. One beer style, one spirit style.
One beer to age in one. I picked the spirit barrel type.
And the beer style. So you could say, style. I'll pick an answer you won't pick. You could do golden ale in a tequila barrel.
Oh, that was mine.
Gold. Yeah.
No, I've been enjoying a lot of rum barrel finished stuff. So I would probably do a barley wine that was tailored to kind of rum notes and try to pair those together.
Love that. All right. Pulaski Pils time. Now, for people not from Chicago, Pulaski has deep Chicago connections. And so tell us a little about the Pulaski Pils, and then if you want to dive a little bit into why the Pulaski name is important in Chicago, we'd love to hear it.
All right. So Pulaski Pils, it's kind of based on a German style, I guess. But I wouldn't say this is it's not, we're not trying to recreate like if you went to Munich and had a Pilsner there. That's not this. It's inspired by a German style, but it's using domestic ingredients. So we use a Pilsner that's grown in the United States, a Pilsner malt, I'm sorry, and a Vienna, just a touch of Vienna malt in there, very low percentage. And then we wanted to find a hop that also is, I guess, noble influenced, but was domestic. And we started with, there was a hop that we used all the time called Santiam hops, and those were in Pulaski for the longest time until about, let's say, just a couple months ago. And it's one of these hops that had German hop lineage, and essentially they crossed a bunch with Cascade hops and started growing it locally, or not locally, but domestically. And you got all these nice floral notes out of it. And you got some noble spice and all that good stuff. So that hop, we found out over the summer that it's not one of the sexiest hops, and it was making way for other hop varieties that the farmers wanted to grow, probably a little bit more popular hops, or just from an agriculture standpoint that made more sense to grow. And we've been working with indie hops out of Oregon for some time. And they actually, at that time, were just starting to release Lorien. And Pulaski Pils now has Lorien hops in it. It's dry hopped, a lighter dry hop with Lorien. And it's a similar idea in that it's like a combo of some old world notes with some newer world notes in a domestically grown hop. And we get a lot of that similar floral notes that we got out of Santiam. So that's I guess Pulaski Pils. It's 5.1%. That's what I'm drinking now. Drinks easy. Another great summer time beer, anytime beer. And that was, I forget who mentioned it, but that was kind of the goal with the two beers we sent out. We knew these were hitting on just getting into summertime. And although it snowed 2 days ago here, so there's that. But yeah, Pulaski.
Third winter.
Yeah, that's right.
Who is Pulaski?
Well, Casimir Pulaski, who grew up in Illinois here. Anyone other than obviously you? So Pulaski was a Cavalry, I can't say that word.
Cavalry.
Cavalry. Revolutionary War general. He's Polish. Obviously, Chicago has a humongous Polish population. He was very instrumental in, I think he was largely responsible for helping organize the American cavalry. And obviously, with all the Polish in Chicago, he's very celebrated around here. At least he used to be more and more when I was coming up back in my day.
Yeah, I used to get Pulaski Day off.
Yeah, it was a whole thing, and it is a large reason. Obviously, that's the main reason why we wanted to call it Pulaski Pils. That also sounds nice. It's fun to say. And every year we keep it going. So we have Pulaski Day. We just had it about a month ago now. And it's great. We shut down the brewery for the day. We have a ton of people in. We get a whole Polish meat cart in about 10:30 a.m. and it's fun. It's really cool to see what that has become, because we have all these people who remember getting the day off for school come, and then there's so many people that work from home now who are just happy to go and do something cool at like whatever 10:30, 11 on a Monday. And our brewery, it's packed with people. We get the cart. We have all sorts of special releases, and it's become kind of a yearly tradition for us at this point to keep Pulaski Day going and try to give people a day off and have just a fun day. And it's one of our favorite beers to drink at the brewery. It's a good anytime beer. It really is. It's got a lot going on. It's not as bitter as a lot of German IPAs. It's a touch less, I guess, bitter forward. And I don't know. It's enjoyable. I love it. And like I said, I'm having one now.
Brian, we're going to Pulaski Day next year.
Yeah,
Yeah, you guys got to come. It's awesome.
Yeah, Pulaski is a badass. He died from grape shot. Fought in the Polish Revolution, ran away from there because he was accused of regicide. Went and joined the French army, and then on
Who
personal
hasn't been
request,
accused of regicide though?
on personal request, George Washington, he came over and helped with the revolution. Like, yeah, one of the most badass people I've ever read about in my research for this beer podcast, certainly. And also, just to piggyback off of the Lorien comment,
yes,
shout out to Lorien. It is the third hop that was put out by Indie Hops after Strata, which is like the coolest, best, newest hop. And I think we're going to see a lot from Lorien, especially in these like softer, more approachable, more, like drinking beers, not so much the high ABV beers, but I think it's going to be a beer that a hop that shines in these drinkable beers.
100% agree. And Strata, we actually, obviously we get it from Indie Hops, but that's in that beer I mentioned earlier, Sidewalk Surfer. That's one of the feature hops in that beer. We love that hop. They're awesome. I love them as a company because they sent us, especially over COVID, they weren't doing hop selection, and they mailed out different cuts essentially overnight. So we got to rub the hops and do hop selection remotely. And those Strata hops are in that Sidewalk Surfer beer.
Heck yeah. Awesome. Well, we've talked about both of our styles tonight, Blonde Ale, Pilsner. We've talked about barley wine. We've talked about a couple other things, but what beer style do you think is underrated and why?
Underrated? English, I'd say English styles, like ESBs and stuff like that. I'm actually surprised. If I were to start a brand new brewery today, I would open up a proper English pub with proper English food and proper English beer, and that's it. That's what we'd have. We'd never do anything else. One, I don't know why it's underrated, probably because it was maybe as craft was getting started, I remember there was a lot of those beers available. More so, like if I went to the big liquor store, there's the Belgian section, which phenomenal. I'm sad to see that that's dwindled down inside, but I guess not, because we need room for our stuff. But English beer were similar. So you can get a ton of different English beers, and maybe they just became, I don't know, out of less vogue, or they weren't as fresh, that a lot of those beers probably weren't very fresh. And they never really caught on. There's not a lot of, I guess, I want to say sexiness to them, in that they don't have the Strata hop in it. They don't have it's like a lot of classic stuff, but they're so damn good. They're so flavorful. More and more, I'm kind of gravitating to lower ABV beers, and a lot of those sit right in that 4 to 6% range. And there's a ton of just malt flavor in there, and a lot of those English malts are so good. But it just seems like it's something that hasn't hit yet. I'm sure it will at some point. You heard here first. If you want to open a brewery, do an English pub somewhere, some good ass fish and chips and English beer that's proper made, to do it right. I think you'd do pretty well.
And my take on, I love an ESB, and there's a brewery, I live in Vermont, brewery up here that does a really good one. But it's sort of like, if you think of like the American light lager, which if we're calling like an ESB or even a mild, like the English style pub ales, like they're sort of like an inverse of that, right? They're darker, not served as cold as a stupid mountain range, So my take on it is that it hasn't really like hooked the American drinker yet, because I think it's just not what they're used to. It's not what you get at a baseball game.
Yeah, there's probably certainly some truth to that. It is if you have a beer that, you know, for a lot of people, if you have a beer that's just not ice cold on a hot ass day, they're like, oh, even regular like beer they're familiar with, if it gains like 5 degrees in the glass, it's like, you know, but that's changing, you know.
For sure. All right. So this is where we're going to get to I like to call this next little bit of ours, like, what's up with the DMV? And so your background is in intellectual property.
Why are you calling it? That doesn't make any sense.
Because they're the number one. They are the number one. They're public enemy number one for this. But so breweries toe the line every day with IP rights on merchandise and labels, primarily in the DMV. Brian, look it up. Richmond,
I thought you meant like the Department of Motor Vehicles.
Oh, well, they don't take kindly to false identification, but yes, I mean the Mid-Atlantic region Metro, of the United States,
DC, Maryland, Virginia area.
Okay,
hey, so when you first said DMV, I was thinking that the car stuff too. So I'm with you.
That in the chat too.
Fair. Not everyone's as worldly as Todd. So okay, we're looking for your hottest take about how breweries get away with like blatant just using other IP, merchandising, creating beers surrounding things and changing a word. How does that work? What are your thoughts? Why haven't you made like a Sammy Sosa beer?
Well, I mean, the short of it is a lot of places do it because why not? You get advertising from it. There's no real downsides to doing it. If you're going to do a one-off, and with trademark law at least, it's going to be hard for anyone. I mean, we have trademarks on our stuff. We try to keep our certain brands, you know, safe. We don't want people producing brands that we've invested a lot of money into and brewed for years. But if someone were to do it, and they did it one time, there's not a whole lot we can do about it. We've had stuff happen on our end. We've been cease and desisted before, and we've had to reach out to. We have a beer called Juice Pants, and another brewery started brewing Juice Pants. And usually it goes like this: it's like, hey, we've been brewing this beer for a long time. You know, the trademark on it, so we're not, you know, this is not a big deal. Can you just whatever? And 99% of the time, people are like, yeah, it's fine. We're not going to do it again. And that's for like. Go ahead.
I just love the idea of like I've seen a couple C&D letters. I just love the idea of a C&D letter with its very formal legal.
No, and then you have some crazy name.
And it says Juice Pants in it.
Yeah.
We need to stop using the name Juice Pants.
So, yeah, and then like this, you know, if you're to do, someone said Sammy Sosa, whatever, you know, beer or something like that in there, like. If he were to find out, he would probably do the same thing. So you can't use my name. It's like, okay, the brewery's probably going to change. They got their publicity. And then if you wanted to do something about it, like if you wanted to sue them, one, it's going to cost a lot of money to do. And two, what are his damages? Are people really like, you know, like he's going to have to show those and show that his trademark was tarnished in some way. And it's just a big, it comes
proving
down
damages is difficult.
Yeah, you'd spend a ton of money doing this stuff for
it's not worth
what? And most of the breweries that are doing these type of things that are just picking a crazy name and doing it, you're brewing like a 10-20 barrel batch, and it's like, okay, all in, what are your? It's like even with you take the sales from that entire batch, it'd be a lawyer's fee for like a couple days. It's just not worth it.
It's funny, I'm sitting here, I mentioned earlier I had a show prep beer, this Freedom Lemonade, and it's in this glass that's from a local brewery here called Voodoo Brewing, and they used to brew a beer called H2P, which is a reference to University of Pitt here. Hail to Pitt, H2P. And they got C&D'd.
No.
And now they sell a beer called non-trademark infringement IPA. and it's a big joke, and it's hilarious every time they release it, and they make a big joke about it. And like you said, it's good publicity. There's a bunch of articles written about it, and now everybody jokes about it, and they call it the pit beer. It's not.
Yeah.
Don't call it the big long name or anything. They all colloquially refer to it as the pit beer. So yeah, I mean, it's only beneficial.
I think if you do it the right way and do it, like, yeah, there's certainly benefit that can be had. And I've seen it happen the opposite way where, it's like, okay, you're using this name, technically the trademark. It's like, well, why don't we use this to do something together? And there's certain breweries that have done that, and they've turned it into essentially a collaboration. Then both parties get promotion out of it. And it's like, well, that to me seems like the smartest idea when this stuff comes up. But on the other hand, you can just do some crazy name, and then you do exactly what you said. Hey, we're cease and desisted. And that's always a funny story, because usually it's some giant company versus a small little brewery, and that's how it goes. And I mean, God damn it, we're there's only so many things. I mean, we're calling a beer juice pants, for crying out loud. There's only so many beers that, like, names you can come up with. Like,
True.
Yeah.
I don't know personally. I don't know any moderately popular subscription beer clubs that have been C&D'd. Don't know a single one.
I think you're lying.
We'll let the fans figure that. We'll let the fans figure that one out. But
Chad,
that's Todd. I'm glad you're the one that said something, not me.
Dismissed. We're fine. Here we are.
Yeah, we're good. There's lots of things we could say right now, but it really won't. Yeah, let's just move on.
It worked out okay.
It's good. All right, whatever. Adam, thank you so much for joining us. We close with pretty much the same question that we always do with everybody. We've talked about a lot of things tonight, but overall, what is one thing that you wish Chicago was more well known for?
Tavern style pizza. The true Chicago pizza. The best.
Tavern style, it's not deep dish. It's this other
Chicago
pizza.
And deep dish is fine in its time and place, but I don't know, anyone who lives here, or at least all the people I know, even growing up, like, that's not what you got. You got one, maybe you get that occasionally, but you're getting the tavern pizza. It came
crispy stuff.
Party cut. Yeah, it's thin. It comes in squares.
Style. Those triangle pieces in the corner.
Party cut. Yeah, if you get the triangle pieces are the best.
With the sausage and the green peppers and the onions. Oh.
Yeah, it's like proper. It's good as hell. It's its own thing. I saw someone just the chat pop up about New York. I'm guessing they're talking about the pizza, which is fantastic, by the way. Not hating on New York style pizza, but I'm just saying we can celebrate all pizza styles. The question was, what is Chicago I want it known for? And anyone in the know is you're not going out for the thick stuff. You're getting a nice regular pizza. But
it's like the Geno's and Pat's of Philly. Like, anybody that lives in Philly, they don't go to fucking Geno's and Pat's. They go to Jim's, or they go to the place. People that live in Chicago, they're not eating deep dish and saying, oh, let's grab a deep dish after we've been drinking all night. They're getting tavern pizza.
That's right. 100%.
Cool.
This was a blast.
Cool. Yeah. We're gonna hold you, Adam. We're gonna hold you to the Bigfoot land. What's it called, Todd?
Oh yeah, I think we're going to max. We got 22 people in there now, I think. So yeah, hold on, because I don't want to. What is that? 160, 170. All right, I'm on 176. Listen, I'm in
with the tax.
I got it.
Active military, free with ID. We got some active military people in the comments there. Look,
so it's even gonna be less. It'll be like 190 all in.
Children
Beautiful.
under 5 free. I'll bring my daughter. She'll get him for free. We'll learn about Bigfoot. Also, just to dig into Bigfoot lore real quick. No sightings of Bigfoot have been reported east of the Pacific Northwest until the Patterson-Gimlin footage came out. So I suspect this Georgia Bigfoot museum. Yeah.
Are you alleging, Brian, that there's an entrepreneur in northern Georgia who could be misleading the public about the whereabouts of Bigfoot? Now we're gonna get C indeed.
Yeah.
I'm happy to take part in the first and last episode that I've Brews Less Traveled because it's got shut down because of the Georgia Bigfoot controversy.
Welcome to episode 1 of Expedition Brews.
Expedition Brews. Yeah. Brews more traveled.
Yeah. Expedition Bigfoot less travel. All right. This is off the rails. Adam, thank you so much for joining us. Where can people find Maplewood beers, Maplewood spirits? What's the distribution range?
All right. We are in several states throughout the Midwest, obviously Chicago, Illinois, throughout the whole state, practically. So if you're in Chicago, definitely come on by to the tap room. And then Indiana, Wisconsin, Missouri, Kansas. I think I got them all. We've occasionally done stuff in Michigan, but not very frequently. But come to Chicago, say hi. We'll have a tavern pizza together. We'll enjoy a Pulaski at the our lounge. We call it the lounge. Which, by the way, you'd mentioned the old style sign. Our lounge is our sign we have hanging up is it. I mean, it's meant to mimic that, but it's you can't see it. It's the M on that glass, but made to look like the old style kind of sign hanging up. So it's just like that creamish off-white colored with the M. We like Chicago stuff, and we wanted to make it feel like a corner tap room. So come on by. Tavern pizza, Pulaski, Bigfoot, all the Bigfoot talk you can get.
Yeah, not many reports of Bigfoot outside of outside of Chicago.
After a few liters, I think you're going to see that number spike.
Bigfoot spotted in Cicero. All right, guys. Wonderful stuff. Thank you so much, Adam, for joining us. Thank you, Todd, for co-hosting and bearing through those 2 episodes without me and bearing through me being here. If you want to find more from Maplewood Brewing and Distilling, you can follow them on Instagram at Maplewood Brew. If you, thank you to Maplewood for supplying these beers for the show, as well as for our beer club. If you're interested in joining the beer club, you can head over to brewvana.com and check out subscription options there. Helps support our show here. And you also get these wonderful beers, or beers like these beers, shipped to you on a monthly basis directly to you. And you can join the recording of the podcast and tell me about your favorite scam Bigfoot museum located in the East Coast, and put those links in the chat there. We'll be back next week with another episode featuring this wonderful city of Chicago, and we'll be closing things out with a double feature, 2 breweries next week. And until then, stay safe, be kind, and support local breweries, everybody. Cheers.
Thanks, guys.
Yep.
Thanks for watching Brews Less Traveled on YouTube. Be sure to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more interviews with brewery professionals.